I want you to get up now. I want all of you to get up out of your chairs. I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell.
Welcome back to the playoff preview edition of the Storm Cellar. As a Boston-based boy, I'm excited for this one, Ray. I was hoping it was the Bruins. The Hurricanes can get payback to the Bruins or the Lightning. They owe them both a couple of series.
Yep.
I'm happy it's the Bruins. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing great. I'm happy it's the Bruins too, and we're going to get into that. And we also do have a special guest, but Brad, I need to take care of something here real quick that I'm making good on something that I should have done last week. Okay?
Okay.
Now, Brad, you and anyone who's known me for more than 5 minutes in their life know how much I despise the team that shall not. I cannot, I have never been, I just could not stand the Habs, Montreal Canadiens. But last week, it behooves me to do something that people would never imagine that I would do. And I wish
it's not what I thought.
I wish to pay homage to the recently deceased Guy Lafleur. Guy, I have to say, oddly enough, is one of the many reasons why I despised the Habs so much. And that is nothing more than a sign of respect for what he did on the ice. Guy Lafleur, there was something about his skating that was so smooth. There was no point on the ice where you think that a player could line him up and hit him hard. You know what I mean? He was just that quick. And maybe it's because of the flow. Of course, he didn't wear the helmet, right? So this is way, way back in the day. And he actually grandfathered, like he was one of the guys that were grandfathered and allowed to go continue playing without a helmet when they actually made helmets mandatory. He kind of got grandfathered in to have that. He skated so smooth, and what a shot. The man was absolutely incredible. And we didn't get a chance to say anything about it. I wish his family the best. And Habs fans, they had someone, an icon to cheer, and Guy Lafleur was that. And I wanted to pay my respects. And
I thought you were going in a very different direction with that.
Oh no,
I thought we were going to talk about the
too.
Habs' latest NHL record. Y'all can look that up if I don't want to ruin the Guy Lafleur moment. Guy, I've mentioned Paul Coffey was the guy who got me really into hockey, and you're right in terms of skating and ability and seeing the ice and things. I mean, he's up there amongst the best all time.
There was just those slap shots from the wing. He would just come in. He would skate past 2 or 3 guys like there were pylons. I think he might have been the reason why they called some players pylons when he went by them. He was just unbelievable.
Silky
and
smooth.
A great shot, very very silky mitts on him. He was great, and the NHL is a worse place off without him in our lives. So, with that out of the way, it's time to bring in our guest. And since I've tipped my hand about how actually old I am, because I actually watched the man play,
ancient
indeed. We bring in the lovely Sydney Silverman. Sydney, how you doing?
I'm good. Thank you guys for having me on.
Yes, welcome to the Storm Cellar. And what we love about our program is that our belief that hockey is for everyone, and that there can be Caniacs from far and near. We like to bring them all together, no matter where you are in the world. We love to bring them together and talk about our favorite team. Sydney, We love to hear about your story. Tell us how you became a Caniac. Who's your favorite Cane? And anything else that you want to share before we get into maybe a breakdown of the season and a look ahead to the Dastardly Bruins.
Yeah, so
Fire away.
I am a Canes fan that was raised in New York City, right around the corner from the New York Islanders and the Rangers. And for some reason, I picked up the Canes. I went to college in North Carolina for a year, and I was playing soccer down there in Wilmington. Big hockey fan, have been for years, and didn't know that hockey existed in North Carolina. So I was pretty happy to find out about the Canes. And just this past season, he's everybody's favorite rookie, Seth Jarvis. He is very good friends with somebody that I'm in college with now. And, I got a little interested, what all the hype was about. And he's exceeded everybody's expectations this year. So I started watching more consistently around November, December, and I kind of fell in love with the team. It's so much fun to watch. I was able to go to a game and at PNC, and the environment there, Caniac's there. It's so fun. Something I've never experienced before, really. I couldn't even compare it to anything. It was incredible. And it's so fun watching, everybody's favorite coach, Rod, on the bench. He is such a powerhouse of a coach. I grew up playing soccer, and you grow up watching coaches on the sidelines, and you see how, and you can see how passionate someone is about the sport. And I don't think there's a better example of that than Rod on the bench. And I'm so glad that he is with the Canes. He gets everybody in love with the sport, with the program, with the mindset. It's just incredible. So I am so happy that they're, going postseason. And I just bought my ticket to the fourth game when they're playing the Bruins, because
I'm jealous.
I'm up in Rhode Island right now for college. So I'm going to do the drive up to Boston for that game. And I am so excited to see how this series plays out against Boston.
I'm definitely going to try and make it into the Garden.
Oh yeah,
we'll see. Because I tell Ray I can look out my window and see the Peru and see 111 Huntington from my house. So I definitely want to get in there. So most of the guests we've had on the show have listened to the show for a while. You're a little bit different in that.
Yeah.
I think you just started following us in the last couple of weeks, maybe, and I know we just followed you back the other day. Mm-hmm. So you're an unknown entity in some ways to us, which is awesome, because everybody who's listening, they kind of, there's kind of I don't want to call it a clique, but there's definitely kind of a core group, right, of Canes fan that a lot of us interact with. And so, love welcoming people into that group and having that group expand. And then you're also a good example of, there was a little back and forth the other week, and it got a little touchy for a day or two about gatekeeping and being a fan of more than one team and new fans, old fans. But you like a number of teams, as do a lot of people. And personally, I'm all for that. I don't have like a true number two team that I watch. I'm starting to like the Canucks. Honestly, because of so much of the things they do from a socially conscious standpoint, and the things that they do as much as their hockey ability, because clearly they're not, winning championships anytime soon. So that's not it. But you had mentioned earlier, the Islanders, Rangers, growing up in that area. You had mentioned the Blackhawks earlier. I think on Twitter you mentioned the Minnesota Wild. I mean, a lot of fun teams and different. I think it's cool when people are just like hockey fans, kind of first. And then, like, you have a favorite team, but you're like, I just like good hockey, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like you're kind of one of those folks who's like, can flip on a game and be like, oh, I don't care necessarily for either of these teams, but like, this looks like this is going to be a barn burner, and like, I'm just going to keep watching. So.
Oh yeah, I think I definitely would say I'm a big Blackhawks fan, but something about, like, I never played the sport. Figure skated as a kid, but I've never played hockey. I just think that it is such a fun sport to watch live, watch on TV. Playoffs are always something crazy. We just watched a pretty crazy ending to the season with the Vegas, with how that ended up. So I think when you are that invested in a season and you're watching games consistently, whether it's for one team or all, you're going to get yourself invested and you're going to understand the fun parts of the game. And And then just going to games if you want something fun to do on the weekends with your friends, and you go and sit at a hockey game, have a few drinks, call it a day. I think that's a whole different part of the game rather than die hard, ride or dies for one team and it's stressful and stuff like that. Like that's all well and good, but I think there's a whole other fun side of it, and that's why I kind of can do the fluctuation between teams. And I am a new Canes fan. I understand the gatekeeping. I'm not going to sit here and claim that I know every in and out of the Canes history, but I don't think that makes me less of a fan. If that
Not
makes
at all.
sense.
Not in the least. And Sydney, one of the things that I have a great deal of respect for fans like you. First of all, for the first thing, and I've said this before, every individual fan has been a bandwagon fan at one point.
At some
The
point,
very
yeah.
first time, at some point, they've become a bandwagon. So this whole gatekeeping stuff, and it's malarkey. I don't like it. It doesn't need to be. Sorry, I went Biden on you guys there for a second.
Malarkey is a great word.
I love
It is a
malarkey.
good word.
But the second thing is that I think because you have, interest in a lot of different teams, you see the game and you see the way teams play in a different light than say someone who, like you just pointed out, and there's many of us like that are ride or die kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
They can have on the rose-colored tinted glasses, or they can be the exact opposite and ridiculously harsh because they expect more. And you come at it more at an even keel and kind of identify the good and the bad without crucifying or exalting. You know what I mean? And I think you've got a great perspective. Something we like to see in fans.
It's good when you can put hockey or anything, whether it's hockey, whether it's politics, whether it's personal stuff, anything that you can put into context, I think makes you more informed.
Yeah.
Regardless of what it is. So I love when people watch other teams or they have a second favorite because they can say, yeah, I see this with the Canes, but I'm comparing it to these other things that I see. And I think it gives people a much better perspective globally about what they're seeing. I think that's great. So
yeah, I also think that it's just so interesting to see how different teams play. And, I don't think you can count any team out with the fun factor. I mean, think about who's it? Colorado just played the Wild last night and the Wild won. Like it's just stuff like that. And the 82nd game of the season, that is so fun to watch that I would sit there and watch a game, a Coyote game, just to see what the hell's going on over there. How are they pulling that win out over the Avalanche? Stuff like that, that if you're so invested in one team and you're not taking into account the rest of the other teams in the league, I don't think you're having as much fun as you could be.
No, you're exactly right. That's such a great point. Now, I understand, like you mentioned that you've already had a chance to interact with Seth Jarvis, who Brad and I have been singing his praises since before he even made the team. He was a guy that we kind of pointed at and said, you watch this guy, because when he gets in and when Rod instills him with that confidence to say you can be anywhere, he's gonna produce. And he produced beautifully in the final week of the season. So is Seth your guy? Is Seth the top guy here? What?
Yeah, I'd say he is. I'm a big fan of Turbo. I like the way that Turbo carries himself, because he's so humble, and I think he's severely underrated. It's fun watching him play because I love his style. It's like so calm, cool, collected, but he's producing big numbers. And if you're not watching the Canes, I don't think you know who Turbo is, and I think you're missing out on an amazing player.
He's the straw that stirs the drink on that line. He's amazing. I love him to death. Good call. Good call.
I think that he's probably my favorite. I'm a big goalie fan though, like overall. I was a goalie in college. I played D1 at UNCW and at URI, but I medically retired. So I'm just a huge goalie fan. And watching Freddie play, like he is another player that I just think has it so together. And goalies are weird. We're all weird. But he's just, I don't know, something about him, watching him play, and I think him and Ronta are an amazing pair. And then bringing my favorite Russian into the mix is like a whole other ball game. Like
we love goalies here, but
we do.
We love baby goalies and
oh my
baby
gosh,
players. So
yeah.
Seth and Peter, I mean,
Yeah.
baby goalie comes in, 3 wins and only 2 starts.
Yeah.
A .902 save percentage, a .242 goals against average for a kid who was playing in the KHL less than 3 months ago. Not to mention his AHL record. I mean, and the videos of him asking about tossing the puck into the crowd behind him, if you've seen those. If you haven't, check our Twitter feed. It's on there. I don't know if Ray's seen it or not. Or when he's looking, he's only like looking at the video. You gotta love this kid, right?
He's first of all, he looked like I don't think he's actually his age.
He's a man child.
He's like, he looks 12. I saw that picture and I was like, you want to talk about baby face? This kid, he looks just absolutely young. But
I thought Jarvis had a baby face until I saw Peter, and I went, "Oh, that's a real baby."
Jarvis with that mustache. Remember that during November? Like,
yes.
No, he was never baby. He's small. He's just short on the ice. He's a tiny dude.
There you go. But he was great, and Peter's so good too. Now your favorite Russian goaltender. I love it. We should actually make a point of saying that while we're talking goaltenders, congratulations to Anderson and Ronta.
Oh yeah,
they were given the Jennings. They won the Jennings Award, and rightfully
well
so.
Done.
They were so fantastic, and there were maybe some questions at the start of the season as to where the Hurricanes would be at with these 2 new goaltenders, and they quieted that question immediately. Like, they played so well from start to finish. You never feel like even if Freddie is not in net and you go to Ronta, you feel, where's the loss? There is really no loss. They have different styles, certainly, different sizes, all the rest of it, but you're in good hands.
I've apologized on our behalf several times, Ray, because there was a couple of days we had 0 goalies, and the joke I made at the time was, well, Caniacs can't complain about the goalie if there ain't no goalies.
Yeah, exactly.
And then they put in Ronta and Anderson, and Ray and I think we both kind of were like optimistic but nervous.
Yeah.
And holy smokes, I mean, you couldn't ask for 2 guys to just step in, and like you said, you know, even bringing Peter in with Anderson out and then Ronta, thank goodness it was just cramps.
Yeah.
But you're like, okay, like, you know, we're bringing in another AHL guy. Lions came in and played well for us. Peter's played great. Mm-hmm. So even starting the Bruins series, if it's Ronta and Peter, I would prefer Ronta starting just because of the experience. But if Ronta went with Peter, I wouldn't feel uncomfortable about that at all.
No, yeah.
Until Freddie's 100%. I mean, I think you don't rush Freddie back. Like, let Freddie come back when he can, because I think any combination of those 3 guys can win you games.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a huge thing. I think that I don't know if it was who said it. It might have been Slavin. It might have been Rod, but I remember watching an interview where they were talking about Anderson and Ronta in goal. And it was like, it's not a A-B situation. It's like, we have A1 and A2. And now bringing in Peter, I agree that having, whatever the matchup might be for the series to come, I think Freddie's got to wait a little bit, and hopefully his injury isn't too bad and he can come back at some point during the series. But if it is Peter and Ronta, Ronta's got the experience, but I think having Peter back him is not a bad thing. And I think if he could get into a series game, it's incredible for his career. And it would be incredible to get his feet under him, to come in next season and see how he's doing in the AHL and stuff like that. Like, it would be, I don't know. I'm just comfortable with it. I'm not too worried.
I feel like a lot of Caniacs have not a lot. Some Caniacs have started putting pressure, like, like the last time we had a rookie goalie, 2006, like Stanley Cup year, Camp. Like, that's a lot of pressure. He seems to be handling it like he's a 30-year-old 10-year veteran, where he doesn't seem bothered by anything very much. So you mentioned Teuvo Teravainen earlier. I have a jersey of his in the closet. A lot of people come on the show, that seems to be the sneaky one that not everybody talks about, but everybody loves. And he kind of has the same, like, I'm going to just go out there and do my thing and please don't interview me and we're good to go, right?
No media,
So,
no camera.
yeah, no media. I said, oh, Abby, like, just, tell Tavo every time he scores a goal, he gets like a get out of interview free card. And next year he'll be a 40-goal scorer. No problem.
At least. Yeah. That's awesome. And though when we were talking about Peter, it was one thing that a lot of hockey analysts around the league are kind of noticing. Of course, with the injuries to the goaltenders, everyone said, okay, what's the situation in Carolina now? Do you feel as confident as of their chances? Where do you think they're at? And one of the things that Kochetkov really eliminated, question about him was the way he did it was the poise that he showed in those 3 games. In those 3 games, he played with poise, and we've all noticed a few things. Okay, I think number one, we can say he doesn't wander from the net like Arturs Urbe did. Brad knows Archie used to wander all the time. He's not someone that plays the puck necessarily like Anderson, or like Anderson moves the puck, right? So does Aranta. They'll get out there and they'll move the puck or whatever. Peter's really not that guy. And that's fine. He's got the defense in front of him that has been solid and can give him that extra comfort that the puck's going to be taken care of in his end. And he doesn't have to do anything but focus on between the pipes, and he's doing great. He's doing great. Some of the saves he made, that swim save, that was unbelievable. And his stick flies out into, center field.
And he just goes and grabs it.
And then, the puck's still in his end. He's like, oh, do we have it? Okay, I get out there. I was like, where are you going? Okay, no, you knew. You got it. It was great.
No, yeah. I think that he came in, and a lot of people were probably not expecting him to do as well as he did. There's a big thing when you're a goalkeeper, the pressure is always on you because, you have all these people in front of you. They can make, 1, maybe 2 mistakes and someone's got your back to recover. But when you're a goalkeeper, you can't make a mistake. You make a mistake and the puck's in the back of the net. Yep. So a lot of people were probably expecting him to crash under pressure, and he proved so many people wrong. And it is just an amazing start to his career as a rookie. Even in the AHL, he's been doing amazing, and getting the call up and performing the way he did is so reassuring to it just keeps showing that it shows Caniacs that the Canes are doing an amazing job with how they're bringing up rookies and how they're training their players to then continue the team. And then, we have so many players on the roster already that are so young and have so many years ahead of them. We're going to see how they do in the playoffs this year, but I just think it's the start. It's the beginning of an amazing story. And I think Seth Jarvis is a big part of that, with how his rookie season is going. Calder conversation. He's not up there in points, but he also, I don't think he had the same opportunity. He got called up a little later. So, maybe from start to finish, it'll be a different story next year. But watching him play, it's been so fun. And I think more of the league needs to appreciate him across the board.
I think, and you hit the nail on the head in that for a long time, the Hurricanes farm system was okay, but nothing special. But I think the team has really learned how to develop players. When you look up and down the roster, you look up and down the AHL roster, the Stanley Cup playoffs are really a battle of attrition. Who's healthiest at the end of 4 series is very often the winner. Even when the Hurricanes won, right? Edmonton, it was Rolison, right? Rolison goes out injured game 1. Conklin comes in to finish out the series. Very different series if their number 1 goaltender's in, potentially. Mm-hmm. So having Peter on deck as a goaltender is huge because, like you said, it's the pressures of being the goaltender. Not everybody can do it. Some of them go a little crazy. I think of like Tuukka Rask, who's an amazing goaltender, but also is kind of also a weird dude. And Peter looks so calm. It's not unnerving, but like you're like, how is this kid this calm under this much pressure? Because the Metro was on the line and our opponents were on the line, and he just stepped in there like, oh, like it's, you know, 180 feet, 200 feet by 100 feet. I got this. You know, 4 inches of vulcanized rubber, no problem. So I think it's great that the Hurricanes farm system, as you mentioned, we have a goalie we can bring up if we need to in Pyotr, right? We have defensemen and guys like Chatfield. We have forwards and guys like Drury and Nason. Injuries happen. They're going to happen. Knock on wood. We've gotten ours out of the way early. But looking just at the playoffs in general, I think the depth that the Hurricanes have is really hard for other teams to rival if this becomes, you know, a knockdown, drag out kind of heavyweight fight anywhere along the way.
Some teams have to call upon their black aces during the playoffs, you know, and these are the guys that they bring up as they can't all sit in the press box, but they're ready to go when you need them. And we're in good shape in that regard. We've got some guys that we can bring up to be at the ready to jump in if we need it. And you can bet that it's going to be a physical series when we're talking Bruins and Canes. Before we jump to that series specifically, very quickly, 82-game season. This was a franchise record season for points, for number of wins. It was all done with 6 straight wins to end the season. And it came immediately after what I've called the speed wobble in the season. There was where the team was playing okay, still going at a high pace, but not in full control. And that's, you know, that speed wobble, we came out of it on the other end and on fire going into the playoffs. And that's what everyone wants. They want to be at the top peak right when they hit the playoffs to hit the deck running, you know? And so congratulations to the team for a franchise record season and for getting the ship right just in the nick of time, because this is what we need, especially going in against the Bruins.
I was really impressed the Ranger game. Sydney, feel free to jump in. You know, Rangers had just won 3 shutouts in a row, right? We have baby goalie in net. Like, I was thinking, and it didn't really hit me until maybe in the last week or so, and it really, something clicked in my mind. This is the first 82-game season in 3 years, I think. Because last year was a shortened season. The year before that was the COVID season. Mm-hmm. So this is the first 80. So
yeah,
the last few weeks, City, we've been talking about how, are they just gassed or if they're playing indifferent in that kind of a slump? And we kind of weren't sure, and I kind of thought it was gassed. And then I was like, this is the first real 82-game season these guys have had in 3 years. Like, I think they're just gassed. Like, I kind of feel like that's the answer. Is last year was what, 56 games?
56, yeah.
COVID shortened season was also like that. So like, these guys are playing almost 30 more games than they used to. If we go back 30 games, that puts us into the beginning of March, which is when things kind of started to look a little iffy. I think the answer is this is the first full 82-game season in a while. And even though these guys are top shelf athletes, you yourself, if somebody just says to you, Sydney, you're in goal, we need you to play an extra 20% of the season, no matter what kind of shape you're in, I got to assume that that's going to affect you, even if it's just mentally and your body's okay. Like, you know, mentally, you're so focused on what you're doing during the time that it just takes away. And I think the guys kind of, you know, like Ray said, kind of got over the wobbles, and now they're like, oh, it's playoff time. It's time to get serious again. But do you have any thoughts on how you thought the team looked the last maybe 6 weeks?
Yeah, I think that it definitely I think it definitely does have something to do with the fact that this is a full season and it's been 2 years since that. I think a lot of these guys also are younger, and they probably weren't maybe not expecting, might not be the right word, but just used to having that 82 full season. I think there was a lot of scheduling issues as well, where there were plenty of back-to-backs. There were plenty of, you know, we have one game here at home and then we got to be another less. I think I don't even remember which game it was, but there was controversy around one game. I wish I knew the specifics of it, but I think they played less than 24 hours between the 2 games, and pretty sure that's not allowed. But I think it was I think it is just gas. Like they're working so hard, and it's the end of the season, closing out.
Yeah, Sydney, that's the thing with that, because when in I wondered about indifferent in so much as we were ending up losing games against teams that when you look on paper, you compare the lineups and stuff, and you're like, Canes have a clear advantage. They should win this one handily. And for some reason, they get in trouble with a hot goaltender or whatever. They'd play really well, but wouldn't get the points. And so that's where the whole indifferent aspect of it. Did you fall into one of those trap games where you just expected to win and you knew that if you put forth the effort, oh, we're going to win. This is all there is to it. And maybe you're not as sharp or hungry or whatever. And so, but the gassed point is something that, this whole pandemic, it's changed so many things. You can lose sight of certain aspects through the fog of what's been going on and stuff. And I lost track of the fact that, yes, the first time we've played 82 games in that many years, no matter how well conditioned these athletes are, how well prepared they are, their body's going to tell them something. You know what I mean? Like, they're calling on more. And so that should make for an interesting playoffs. Playoffs. We're talking playoffs?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're
Yeah.
finally there.
It,
Um,
go
yeah.
ahead.
Sorry, I think one of the games I remember watching was when they were away at Buffalo, and I remember watching an interview after, and again, I think it was I think it was the captain, and he was like, "We came in thinking this was going to be an easy game, and they lost at Buffalo 4-2, to then turn around and have to play them 2 days later and won 5-3, but they still were like, oh, we're playing Buffalo and we lost to Buffalo." Like, they were mad at themselves for how they came out thinking that it was going to be such an easy win. And I think so. I think it has something to do with the fact that they got tired towards the end of the season, but they also probably got a little too comfortable, because at the end of the day, and I said this earlier, you can't count any team out. And, there have been a lot of teams at the bottom of the league right now, especially in the past 2 weeks, that have proven that they can't be, maybe their playoff dreams are over, but they're still finishing out the season going hard. And
Get to play spoiler.
yeah.
And
You
not
just,
only playing for spoiler, but they're playing for their jobs in a lot of cases too.
yeah.
So the playoffs are a great motivator, but your livelihood, I think, might be just a touch more pressing. And especially when their teams were bringing up kids from their farm teams and stuff to kind of give them a late season training camp or whatever, by just throwing them in the fire and seeing how they're going to do, to actually, observe I think what they do, it's like a pre-draft analysis of what you have so that they can go into the draft day knowing what they need to get. And if they've got lots of talent and stuff, these younger teams that are playing hungry and stuff and wanting to be the spoiler and playing for their jobs, I think, yeah, that's a great point. You know what? This is oh man. You can't sleep on anyone. And the Hurricanes can't sleep on the Bruins, even though in 3 games the score 16-1. We've outscored the Bruins 16-1 in 3 games. These games were laughers. Every last one of them, a laugher, where the Canes just came in and destroyed them, or they come into Raleigh and they got their butts handed to them. And so Brad's loving that, smiling from ear to ear, as well he should. He smiles as much at that as I smile at us whooping on the Habs. But looking now it's the playoffs, right? Now it's the playoffs. Bruins, Canes. I've had some people tell me Bruins don't have any pressure because, no one expects them to beat you guys. And we've seen how bad it is. All the pressure's on the Hurricanes. With the pressure on the Hurricanes, that's the key. That's how we'll win the series, because the pressure will be too much for this Hurricane squad. Sydney, what's your take on this series coming up? Do you put any stock in that at all? What do you think?
I'm excited. I've been to the past two Bruins games that were at the Garden, and you're right, they were pretty big blowouts, which was nice for me. I wasn't getting as chirped in my Canes jersey. Um, but I just think that they need to come in with their heads straight and not take this team for granted. And, even if they get to maybe a 3-1 in the series and they're like, oh, yeah, we're going to finish this out and call it a day and whatever. I just think that they need to play until the final whistle, until they're secure into going into the second round, until, I just think they can't count them out yet. And I think the Bruins are going to come in the way that all Boston people do, with a tough head, and they're going to, play hard. I really am not excited for any injuries. I'm hoping that we can get through at least to the second round with no crazy injuries. But it's going to be a battle, and it's going to be a battle from the first period to the last in the fourth game. Like, it is going to be something that they need to work for. And I know Rod is going to get on them for that. I know that captain's going to get on them for that. And I think that the whole team, their mentality is pretty solid. And I think they're all on the same page of wanting to play for each other and for the program. I think they have all fully bought into, the mindset that Rod is preaching to them, that this is something that they got to work for every single day, regardless of if they end up at the top of the league, or, if they're in Stanley Cup final. Like, they just need to play their hearts out from day one till now, or till then.
Yep. Yeah, that's a great call.
Sorry, Carolyn, you definitely can't be the Leafs versus the Habs, right? Up 3-1. We just have to win 1 of 3, and this shouldn't be a problem. That's how you get the Stanley Cup final last year we got. Mm-hmm. The bad news, if there's bad news, over the last month, the Bruins are coming in. Pastrnak, Bergeron, and Marchand are 1.26 points per game played, 1 and 0.93 respectively. Those guys are on fire. Eric Holla, former Hurricane, who left under what appear to be less than ideal circumstances, who really has not seemed to who seems to enjoy playing the Canes, because there's a lot of dislike there, both with the Preds and the Bruins, is their number 4 scorer at 0.82 points per game. The good news is, if you shut those 4 guys down, you have Hall and McAvoy, then you start seeing a real decline in people that can put up points for the Bruins, versus the Canes, who, depth scoring is kind of one of the hallmarks. So you really are going to have to focus on Pastrnak, Bergeron, and Marchand. The good news for us, we have a Jacob Slavin, right?
Absolutely.
The other good news for the Hurricanes, so Ray mentioned the 16-1 goals for against for the season series, and that was only 3 games. Normally it used to always be, you'd always do them in 4s. You'd have 2 homes, 2 aways. That was 3 games. It's 5 1/3 goals per game. The really important thing for the Hurricanes, in my mind, is officially our power play is around 22%. We know, because we did the math, that it's really over the last month clicking to like 4 or 5%. It's just awful.
It's not
against good. The Bruins, it was 42%.
Yeah.
So what I would think the Hurricanes need to do is take the opportunity. You clearly are able to read or acknowledge how the Bruins are on their PK, and you need to take advantage of that. You need to get confidence in that power play 1 and 2 units, that they can score when they need to score. And we need to see that number come up.
Yeah.
We beat Nashville last year because they couldn't score on a power play. Their only power play goal was a 5-on-3. I don't count that. They could not score on us on a 5-on-4 power play, and that killed Nashville. If their power play would have been 20% against us, I don't think we win that series, if I'm being honest. It was bad.
Yeah.
So I think the Bruins are a better matchup than the Lightning, because, and Sydney knows this, you're in Rhode Island, so I listen to a lot of sports talk radio. Bruins fans are like Flyers fans. They still are stuck in the 1970s.
Yeah.
I just want to hit somebody. Why can't that guy? You can't just be a goal scorer. You got to hit people. And that's what the Bruins are coming to do. The Lightning do it too, but the Lightning are on that edge of dirty, especially guys like Kucherov, where they don't mind. They'll slew foot you. They'll throw an elbow and try and get away with it. Boston will play you tough, but has traditionally the last couple of years not been, I think, as bad about those types of things. Mm-hmm. So when I'm looking at injuries, I'd rather have the Bruins than the Lightning from that aspect. I'm looking forward to it. Like, I need this to be a win. I've already heard people calling into sports radio up here going, oh, all the pressure's on the Canes, Bruins in 5. Well, that's not happening. I'm not saying the Bruins can't win, but that's just a ridiculous statement to make. The Hurricanes are going to win. It's one of those things where it's like, is it 5 games, 6 games, 7 games? And it's hard to I almost hate predicting, because the difference to me in a 5-game series or 6-game series is often like 1 goal. Like, if the puck moves 2 inches to the left or the right, that determines if there's 5 games or 6 games. Mm-hmm. I think realistically 5 is doable. I think I would, if I have to predict, and we don't have to predict just yet, but I would say 6 if I was having to put a number on it. But for the people who are already calling into sports radio up here, it's one of my favorite hobbies. Is I listen into sports radio just to hear people call in and complain about Boston teams, because it's so much fun. We mentioned earlier about Sydney, you mentioned like the highs and the lows, and you kind of have to balance that out a little bit. Mm-hmm. And these people don't have that filter, right? When they win a game, like, oh, we're going to sweep them. And then they lose a game, and like, these people are trash. The whole team is garbage.
Oh yeah.
It's one of my favorite sports.
It's a complete 180 all the time. Like, even when I was sitting, I was smushed in between all these Bruins fans when I was at my last Canes game. And as soon as they scored their 4th goal, I think in the 2nd period, they were all like, oh, I'm leaving. This is trash. F you, F this. Like, they were just absolutely miserable. But then they would, watch them score, and they'd be like, yeah, you guys suck. Like, it's a 180. It's like black or white. There's no in between. There's no like, oh yeah, maybe. Oh, they're doing all right though. Like, no, it's ride or die. That's a Bruins fan. Yeah. Ride or die.
Oh, and the fun part for me is listen to the the sports radio stuff is, like, as soon as the Bruins are out, it'll be straight to Celtics, right? They just move on. There's like, oh, my Bruins are done, like Celtics, and then Red Sox.
Yeah.
And then if the Red Sox aren't playing good, thank God football season starts in 3 months.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly it. You didn't want to make a prediction. I'm going to throw mine out there. I thought I was kind of like you. 6 seems like the safe. Canes in 6 seems like a safe kind of pick. I'm not going to be as brash and say that it's going to be a sweep, but I think this one's done in 5, and the Hurricanes have, and you pointed it out. It's the depth. It's the depth of scoring from all aspects of every line has that ability, and our penalty kill has been great. I do worry some. It is going to have to be great against a power play from the Bruins, especially one with Bergeron, Pasta, and Marchand together. You put them on the ice, they're dangerous. And it was funny, Brad. You mentioned, oh, they're not, they're tough, but they're not really dirty. And for a moment, I thought, this is the team with Brad Marchand on it, right? That's the team that you're talking about? But,
like, is he going to lick somebody and give him COVID? Like, is that his strategy?
Well, I'm sure he'll do that and many other things that we don't get, or we aren't privy to because the camera is pointed somewhere else.
I will say that he has been known to clip people too, which is super dangerous when you just get too low for that hip check and you hit him in the knees. He's been suspended for that more than once.
Stabbing goaltenders in the face with a stick. Yeah. He's been known to do that. Like,
I'd love to see him do that to baby goalie, because I feel like Peter would just be like, whatevs, and like turn around and like grab his water bottle. Like, I don't think it would even rattle him. He'd be like, pfft.
I think if he did that and Domi were on the ice, he would turn into his dad momentarily, and because he's got a little bit of edge too, and he'd be jumping in to put a stop to that. So look, I think we all like the
Sydney. Do you want to toss a prediction out there?
I'm thinking it's going to be Canes in 6. That's my prediction. I think they might get a little too comfortable if they get too ahead in the series early. I'm also being selfish because I want to go to more games. So because
Even better.
if they beat Boston, I can't get down to North Carolina for the next for round 2, and I don't
There you
want
go.
Boston in round 2. So
Yeah, get as much as you can.
yeah.
6. You know what? I can live with that, Brad.
Yeah.
I got no trouble.
I am. Hopefully, this doesn't jinx anything because and we need to talk superstitions before we end today.
Yeah.
I'm probably not going to the Garden, even though it's so close. But if I'm looking at tickets, they're like $200.
Yeah.
And I'm like, if the Hurricanes get anywhere close to like an ECF or a Stanley Cup Finals, I'd rather wait.
Yeah,
my
that's what I'm
money
splurging on.
and dump it in there, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I'd rather be comfortable on my couch, I think, for round 1, even though they're so close. I really do want to go.
Yeah.
But yeah, if the Hurricanes make it to an ECF, I will be in Raleigh. I will find a way.
Yeah.
So-
I mean, if they make it far, I might be there too.
Awesome. That'll be great. You know what? I could always hope for a Hurricanes Calgary Flames Stanley Cup final.
Oh yeah.
Bring the game here. That would be it'd be hard to get tickets for that one. Whew.
Yeah.
Let's take a quick spin around the league.
Round 1, fight.
The matchups, all of the playoff schedules are set. Everything's set to go. Let's just do this like bullet point. Who do you think will win? How many games? And if you want to add something else, go ahead. But we'll do this up quick.
Right.
We'll start with the Panthers, who got their butts whipped last night by Montreal. Who I don't know. They scored 10 goals, and I don't know if you saw the highlight of this. After the 10th goal, fans started cheering Guy. Of course, number 10, Guy Lafleur, 10. It just seemed to be the right way to end the season on 10-2. I couldn't believe it. Anyway, Panthers, Capitals, Sydney. Who do you like? How many games? And why?
Oh, I think I gotta go Caps for that. I love Ovechkin. He's like I'm such a bandwagoner, but he is so much fun to watch, and I have been rooting for his record this whole season, like watching him get closer and closer, just inching closer and closer. So I got to go with the Caps on that. But it'll probably be a tough series. I think it's probably going to go 5 or 6.
Wow, that's kind of bold.
That's a bold move, Cotton.
That's very, very
Let's see
bold.
how that plays out.
You know what?
I like it though.
That'd really blow things up, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Like that.
Right off the bat, get it out of the way first.
That
round.
would be, yeah. You know, like for March Madness. Here's the cross pollination to college basketball again. The March Madness. That's the bracket buster game. That's the bracket buster series that you got right.
That's
there.
like 90% of the brackets are done right there.
Done. Absolutely done. I'm on the other side of that one, Brad. I look at the Panthers, who, despite that ridiculous performance they put on last night, they've built up their team to this powerhouse all-star team. It's like an all-star team. And is Ekblad even back yet? I don't even, like, they're so solid. I don't even know that they have Ekblad back in the lineup just yet, and they're this strong. I'm good to give the Capitals one game, but for me, this is Panthers in 5. They're so strong throughout, and Bobrovsky's been great. So, I mean, that's my take. And I don't know, Brad, what do you think?
I think this is a closer matchup than people realize, because the Capitals always find a way to elevate and get a little better unless they're playing us in a game 7.
Yeah.
Ekblad is not back. Ekblad, as far as I'm aware, is supposed to start in the postseason. So I think Ekblad will be back for the series. Florida had a lot of overtime wins, shootout wins.
Yeah.
Florida got a lot of points in the regular season off of 3-on-3 hockey, which does not exist in the playoffs.
No, it doesn't.
So their 122 President's Trophy winning points is great, but I also think it's a little skewed. And Ovechkin and guys like Wilson are going to come in there. And I mean, I'm predicting like a 6 or 7 game series. I hope that they just beat the tar out of each other, because the East is so competitive that whoever gets to the East is going to have an uphill climb for the Stanley Cup Finals, just because of, I mean, just look how tight it is. The West, a couple teams should breeze through the West. Now it's hockey, you don't know, but I think this is going to be a long series, because I think this is going to be a pinball kind of series. This is going to be very much like a Canes Buffalo-y kind of series from along, where it's you're up 2 and then it's 2-1 and then maybe it's 3-1 then it's 3-2. Even the Stanley Cup Finals. Like, I think this is a long one, but I think ultimately Florida will pull it out, just because they do have more goal scoring, apart from their top line than the Capitals do.
Yeah,
and I think that's going to make the difference.
6 games, 7 for the Panthers.
I think it's going to be 7. I think this is maybe the really fun first round series to watch, because I think that the Panthers are not quite as good as they appear on paper. And I think Washington tends to play better than they are on paper.
There you go. Moving along, we've got the Toronto Maple Leafs, who haven't won a Stanley Cup since 1967. Who feel like, their fans feel like, they haven't won a first round series since 1967. It's been a long time since they've advanced past the first round. The Leafs taking on the twice defending champion, Tampa Bay Lightning. What do you think, Sydney?
I'm definitely going Tampa there. I'm such a Tampa fan with Hagel. I'm so biased. I hope they treat him so well. We miss him over in Chicago, so I'm so biased. And I mean, they're just a powerhouse, I think. And I have no sympathies for the Leafs. I think it's gonna be probably 5. I'm gonna go 5.
Cool. Ouch. Brad, your turn.
My turn. This is another one where, like, I think the Lightning can pull this off. Mostly for me in this series, it's goaltending, and the Leafs goaltending is a whole lot shakier than the Lightning's goaltending. And I mentioned earlier in this broadcast that the Lightning are not afraid to play dirty. And, I think it's great. Austin Matthews in particular has had one heck of a season this year.
60 goals. Holy cow.
I mean, yeah, but I've also said what's their Achilles heel? That they have like 40 million payroll with 3 guys. So I have to agree with Sydney. I think the Lightning take this. I think this is maybe a 6-game series. I think the Maple Leafs might jump out to a 1-0 or 2-0 series lead, but then I think the Lightning are going to be like, okay, like it's time for us to be the Lightning, right?
Sweep them.
All right. So I'm going to do my prediction, but I have to apologize to you two and to all of our listeners, okay, for the way that I have to do this. You see, I live in a house with a Toronto Maple Leafs fan. She's never actually been alive since the last time they won the Stanley Cup. And I can't make bold predictions like this too loud. Otherwise, my butt gets handed to me by my wife. I also agree with you both that I think the Lightning are going to win this series. It will probably be in 7 games. Okay? And the thing about this is, for the Lightning, until you are beaten, you're the Stanley Cup champions until you have been beat. That's what makes them so dangerous. So you see, it's not just straight fear that is making me answer like this. It's knowledge that the Lightning are a fantastic club with great goaltending that scare the hell out of me and should scare the hell out of everyone else in the NHL. And with that, we will move along. We've already predicted Carolina and Bruins, so let's move to the other one. this one is a really exciting series. In fact, I think it could be the series, like the best series of the first round. New York Rangers taking on the Pittsburgh Penguins. Wow. Like if you were a puppet master wanting to pit the teams against each other, this is one that you absolutely would have done. Rangers and Pittsburgh. Sydney, take us there. Who do you think wins it, and how many?
I think that this is going to be one of the best series to watch right off the bat. And I don't know. It's a toss up. Like, I think it really could go either way. It really just depends on how the series starts. Because I think whichever team gets a better start in the series, I think that team is going to finish out. So I think if the Penguins can go to a 2-0 lead, or even if they go, 2-1, I think they're going to finish out. But if the Rangers come out swinging, I'm not sure. I'm not sure who plays. I think the Rangers are playing at home first. And if they're getting a packed MSG Stadium and they're coming out 2-0 to go, and then they're going to Pittsburgh, I think they're going to be a team to be reckoned with. And, we might see them, the Canes might see them in the second round. So I don't know. I think it's going to be a 6 or 7 game series regardless. I guess I'll stick true to my roots and go New York, but it really could go either way. And I'm excited for that series.
Your turn, Brad.
Hard to argue. So if you go to Google and type in the words flip a coin, it will flip a coin for you. And that's what I did. And it landed on Rangers. And I'm good with that pick. Mostly because I still don't like Pittsburgh because of Brooks Orpik.
Yeah.
I'm still holding that grudge.
Say that name right. Yeah. Me too.
Yeah, we have younger listeners occasionally. I'm with Sydney 100%. I think whoever jumps out on this one is going to win. If one team can get up and get those first couple, especially if Pittsburgh can steal one away in Madison Square Garden, I think that's a big deal. If the Rangers come out and go 2-0, I just don't know that the Penguins have enough this year to fire back. I mean, they have Sidney Crosby, 84 points this year, but the Rangers, countered that with, Panarin, who's lighting it up like 96 points, 97 points, something like that. So I think no less than 6. This could easily go 7. Sydney. Whoever jumps out and gets that, game 3 win, assuming it's 1-1 going into game 3, whoever wins game 3, I think is taking the series.
I like the Rangers in this one too, mostly because of, the Penguins have really struggled down the stretch, and they had the 4-game suspension to Gino there. It was, and they don't have Shesterkin. And look, the Canes put 4 past Shesterkin earlier, to which I messaged Brad and said, Shester who? Because he was supposed to be he's all anyone would talk about as far as Vezina Trophy candidates, and they think that perhaps he is the guy that's going to win it, and he's great. The Canes had their way with them in that game to decide the Metropolitan Division, right? But he is something to behold. Like there's even we saves that he has no business making. We throw that around a lot, but in his case, it seems like physically, your body shouldn't do the things that he is making his do to make some of these saves. He's just he's crazy, unbelievable. And if he can shut down Sid, and look, the Pens play hard. They've got some great talent on that team, but I think Kreider, Panarin, look, they've got a great solid lineup that can be physical, that skates hard, and they've got outstanding goaltending. I think it's Rangers in 6. We're gonna go over to the West, and this one is a crazy matchup because after the second period in the game between Nashville and Arizona, everyone had Colorado taking on the Stars. because Nashville was up 4-0 on Arizona. By the end of the game, they allowed 5 straight and got themselves knocked into the unpleasant position of having to face the Colorado Avalanche in the first round, a team that has been just unbelievable. It's the Avalanche and the Nashville Predators, much to many people's surprise. Sydney, what do you think about this one?
I do think it's gonna be Colorado. I don't think it's gonna be as easy as everyone thinks it's gonna be. If Nashville comes out the way that they have been in the past couple of weeks, if they come out and they're just, you know, if they come out and they're just tired, they're just gassed from the season and gassed from the last week, pushing as hard as they could to not end up against Colorado and then ending up against Colorado anyways. I think I don't know. I think it's going to be probably a 5-game series. I'm pretty happy with that. Colorado going through.
Yeah, I imagine Joe Sakic, the Avalanche GM, woke up and was like, "Oh, that's different."
Not only is it different, he probably prefers it.
Yeah,
because
he
Dallas
probably
played Colorado very difficult this year. So having it be Nashville, yeah, that's a pleasant surprise to wake up to.
I think one of the hockey guys I know who was a Preds fan is just a super great guy, and I really would like to see the Predators play well. Saros is hurt. He has an ankle sprain. I don't think it's been confirmed how bad, which means he's going to miss somewhere between 1 and 4 to 6 weeks.
Yikes.
Without him, that leaves you with Roman Josi and a goaltender, right? I mean, it's not, Pekka's gone, Saros is the guy. Unfortunately, I could certainly see the Avalanche taking this in 4. I really want the Avalanche to lose as soon as possible. So I'm kind of hoping they win it in a sweep. And then, a lot of teams, they win in a sweep and they sit back and they comfy and they come out for the start of round 2 and just get blasted because they're just not ready. I'd love to see that happen to the Avalanche. So I think the Avalanche are going to sweep this without Saros in goal. I don't think Roman's enough to hold up that back end.
Yeah, and that's what's really unfortunate about this. Roman Yoshi's had he's been so great, and led Cale Makar. Makar had so many points this season, and then you have to look up to find Roman, who was just outstanding, a great distributor of the puck. But really, what you say in this is any team that could give up 5 straight to Arizona has no chance against Colorado. None. 0.
But it's also an Avalanche team that lost Arizona not once but twice.
And that's true too.
Right?
I understand that.
It's crazy.
Hockey is crazy, and it's every game you can, no matter what, everyone has a chance to win on one given night. This is over a series, and Colorado is an all-world team with talent up and down the lineup. If Kadri does something stupid and gets himself suspended again, that might be an issue, but he's had his head on his shoulders pretty much all season, and he's been focused on scoring and playing the game the right way. To me, it's the Avs in 4, and it'll be, to me, and this sounds like I'm really railing on the Predators. They're a stronger team than this, but I look at the lineup and the disparity there. It'll be a wonder if the Predators win a 20-minute period. Never mind a series. I just see this as a walk.
A lot of jokes about the Preds raising banners for insignificant things, like a lot of memes and jokes out there.
Yeah.
If the Preds can beat the Avalanche in the series, I'd hang
raise a banner.
Yeah,
raise
well,
a
I would.
banner if you do that, because that's world beater
Beat
right
Avs
there.
round 1 banner, boom, right in the middle, nice and big and
100%.
gold.
Yeah, no question. Look, here's another series that is going to be absolutely outstanding and perhaps the rival to the Rangers Pens series. Minnesota Wild taking on the St. Louis Blues. Minnesota loaded up and they are great, but St. Louis is red hot right now. They're on a real heater. Sydney, what do you think?
I have to stick with Fleury and go Wild, but it's going to be interesting. I think that this is going to come down to how the goalkeeping goes, and how the defense plays, but it's going to be a tough time. I don't think that either team is going to come out, with a streak of games in the series or, win this in 4 or 5, but I just think that it's going to be tough, and it's going to be it's going to be the better series to watch for the West Coast for sure. But I'm going to go Wild and probably 6.
Cool. Brad.
I like Fleury was able to get at Chicago. For me, this is the Battle of Russia. This is Kaprizov and Tarasenko, right? You got a left wing Russian versus a right wing Russian, which I just think is cool. This will be a series I will stay up late for.
Yeah.
Oh man, I don't really want to predict this one because this could swing either way. But Fleury's such a good dude. Like even with the Penguins, like I could not like them, but still was like, oh, it's Fleury. Like this guy's pretty cool. I'm gonna say Minnesota in 6 through puck luck. If there's no puck luck, maybe it's 7. But I think it's just, I don't know. 6 feels like the right thing to say.
Yeah, to me, this one is a great series. Goes right to the end. I like the Wild in 7. I like the Wild in 7 mostly because of Kaprizov and Fila, both of them together. Holy cow, the talent. Kaprizov is just unbelievable. His skill off the charts. And then you look at the goaltending, and even if Flower struggles, they have an all-star goaltender backup as well in Cam Talbot. They are perhaps in as good a shape as any team in the playoffs with their goaltending. I like the Wild, and that's going to be, pardon the terrible, pun. That is going to be a wild affair. Let me tell you, craziness.
Whoever loses is going to have the blues.
Yes, they will. Well done, sir. I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Got my dad's cell phone, my dad back.
Yeah, that's right. Let's go to the Pacific, and this one's close to home for me, because both of the teams in here are in Alberta. So we'll change things up just a little bit. I'm going to give my takes on this one first, and just because I've lived most of my life in Alberta, I've seen these teams. This is that I'll go first if you guys don't mind. Calgary Flames taking on the surprise competitor, the Dallas Stars. This one, the Stars played strong and have been playing like their lives depended on it just to get into the playoffs. I think they're going to run into a Calgary Flame buzzsaw. This one does not go more than 5, and it's the Flames that win this one. Their lineup is astounding, and they're getting contributions from top to bottom. Goudreau, another guy who's put up so many points in his final year. I mean, they just got Noah Hannafin. I like to give a shout out to him. Carolina drafted him, and we shipped him off when we got Dougie Hamilton. And everyone in Calgary was asking Raymond, tell me about this Hannafin guy. I'm like, you guys are going to love him. You guys are going to love him. He's quick. He's smart on defense, and he doesn't make a lot of mistakes. I was just always impressed with his style of play. And they got Markstrom in net, and Markstrom has been otherworldly. Some of the saves that he's making are just craziness, absolute craziness. I like the Flames. Mangiapane, Lindholm, who, did the clap back to the Canes a couple years back. That ticked me
Lindholm,
off
not
a little
H.
bit.
Lindholm. Big
Yeah.
difference.
Oh, pardon me. Sorry.
I said E. Lindholm, not H. Lindholm. Big
No,
difference.
yeah, 100%. Very, very big difference. Yeah, they're just solid. It's going to be exciting hockey. The Flames play an exciting brand of hockey, but here's another one where the coach has made the difference. The Hurricanes talk about Rod so much being a key and integral part. You mentioned it, Sydney, and you were absolutely right. He's an integral part of the team's success. Sutter is the same thing around here. He has got everyone is drinking what he is serving. They love what he brings. They're doing it and playing the game right. Flames in 5. Sorry. Go ahead.
Good points. I'm gonna go Dallas here. And I'm only
Nice.
gonna go Dallas because I love how Robo has been playing this year. And I think that, he's got 75 points, 74 points on the year. I think he's gonna be a big part of, preventing it from being a blowout for the Flames. But you're right, they've been having a stellar year, and they probably weren't expecting to play Dallas either. May have been happy about it, but I don't know. I think it's going to be a tough series. I'm going to go Dallas in 6.
Look
I
at
like
that.
it. Unfortunately, I can't disagree with Ray because when I just look at the lineups,
Yeah.
I love Robo, Root, Sagan, Klingberg, Ben. Dallas to me is the weird team. Like if one Dallas team shows up, I could say, oh yeah, I could see them winning this. But then if the other Dallas team goes up, I go, oh, this could be 4 or 5 games really easily. And I don't know what Dallas team we're going to see. And it's kind of felt that way for a while with them. On the Flames side, though, I go, I know what Flames team we're going to see. We're going to see Goudreau, Kachuk, Mangiapane, Anderson, Eland home, goaltending matchup. I like Otter a lot. I think it's pretty close. I think the Flames take this. To me, it's how many games. Now, I'm going to say 5. I think it might go longer than that, but I think there's just so much firepower on the Flames side. And they're very good defensively. I know, the talk coming out of the West is mostly around the Avalanche. I think the Flames are as good. And that's high praise. So I think you got to go Flames on this one. I'm putting money down on it, and I'm going to say 5. It wouldn't surprise me if it goes longer, but what's the fun in that?
The Flames are on a heater. Huh?
Zing.
Huh?
That's
yeah,
3. That's 3.
There we go. Let's keep the dad jokes.
Maybe
down.
Dallas will shoot for the moon and win this
one.
Oh,
Look at that. Okay,
moon and stars.
Go.
That's close enough. I'm counting.
There we go. I am too. I totally am. The final series, and this one this is going to be real interesting. It's the Edmonton Oilers taking on the LA Kings, who have had a fantastic year. They've been over and above what anyone expected. They've got quick, they've got, and I mean, I just look at this Kings team and I can't decide if my nervousness about making my pick is more because of how well the Kings have played all year, or the history that the Edmonton Oilers have had. Because, wow, the Oilers have struggled in the playoffs because everyone's been able to shut down McDavid and Draisaitl. So, do you think the Kings can do it this time? I don't think they can. And the only reason for that is, oddly enough, the goaltending. Mike Smith has been on a heater, and he's played very, very well down the stretch. And Mike Smith, despite his age, despite his struggles in the past, he can win a series. And I think if we get the Mike Smith that we've had for the past week, going into the playoffs, your Oilers should be your series winner. I picked the Oilers in 6. I don't like the Oilers in 6, but this is going to be a crazy good series, and I wouldn't be surprised based on the history if that goes the other way, where it's LA in 6. This is a very, very intriguing one. Can't be as confident as you are in, say, other series and picking the winners, that's for sure. But I say Oilers in 6.
Okay. I think I'm just excited to see McDavid versus Kopitar and Kemp.
Oh man.
So
Great matchup.
I think it's gonna be I think you're right. I think it could go either way. I don't think it's gonna be a quick series though. I think it's gonna be a 6-game series. I'm gonna go Kings though. And I'm only gonna go Kings because I'm biased towards Kopitar. But other than that,
There you go.
It's going to be a toss-up. It's going to be tough, and it's going to be fun.
He's got a tough job ahead of him, but he's more than capable. And that's, I mean, I think that's the key, especially with Kopitar. Brad, your thoughts?
I'm with Sydney on this one. I think the Kings are going to pull this out. You know, Draisaitl and McDavid together have 233 points.
It's
and their next two
unreal.
guys combined have 104.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
The Hurricanes have shown, again, Jacob Slavin in particular has shown again, you can keep Draisaitl and McDavid off the score sheet or practically off the score sheet. Does Los Angeles have the people to do that with? I don't know. But that's the plan, right? Is make the other 20, make the other 18 guys on the bench beat you, just not those two. And if you start, if you can shut even one of those two guys down, a lot of the, those points, are kind of mutually beneficial there. So I think this could be, I'm going to call the 7 games for this one. I think this is going to be a lot tighter than it may look at on paper. I think the Kings can pull this out, in part because I want to be right about the fact that you can't have 2 superstars and then a whole lot of mediocre to win anything. And I don't want GMs to go, oh, look, it works, because I don't think it does. We've seen it in Leafs. We've seen it with Edmonton. I also, Jay Willie, our boy, was an LA King, won a Stanley Cup there. So
Yep.
I'm going to call for the Kings as well. I think it's going to be a close series. If you shut down those two guys, you win. If you can't shut them down, you lose. It's all on your defense and goalies.
I think the Oilers are going to there's going to be a spotlight shined on Evander Kane. He brought a spark to the Oilers when he arrived with instant production, and he's been putting up numbers, and he's been playing physical, and he's been playing well for the Oilers. The spotlight is going to shine on him, especially if Draisaitl and McDavid are shut down, because he's going to need to carry the load if they're going to get anywhere. And that's not an easy task, to be in the spotlight in Edmonton or Calgary or Toronto or anywhere really, because we're all watching and we're all very excited for the playoffs. It's going to be absolutely outstanding, and I can't wait for it to get started. Toughest trophy to win in professional sports. Absolute most difficult. Most
you know what makes it
exciting to
easier,
watch too.
Ray?
What's that?
Good luck.
Oh,
So
you need the luck.
It's playoff time. Before we wrap up today, I got to ask. And Ray, we think jumped into this right at the start of the playoffs last year, so we may have touched on this. I don't know. But Cindy, do you have any superstitions, game time, playoff superstitions that you go, I got to wear my lucky shirt, or I got to eat the same breakfast? Is there anything in that, or are you like, nah, that's just bunk? And
See, now before you answer though, you've admitted that you're a goaltender.
Yep.
And if I know anything about goaltenders, it's that they are perhaps the most superstitious creatures on the planet outside of me. Sydney, I don't want to, classify you as superstitious, but I've got a big feeling that you've got some good ones for us.
You are correct.
Okay, there you go. So,
I'm very superstitious.
any sort of things that you are okay, now here we got to be respectful, Brad.
Mhm.
Your superstitions are your own. Do you feel like sharing any of them with
Oh,
us?
that's true. That's true. Because
You know what I mean?
maybe it's
They're
like
your
maybe it's like
own.
a wish. Like if you tell
Oh
people it
no,
doesn't work.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's
Yeah.
so we'll give you, if you're willing to share any of them with us, please do. If
Mhm.
not, that's fine too. There'll be no judgment from us.
I will share them. They're not that outlandish or weird, but they have to happen on playoff game days. I have to be home. I cannot watch it at a bar or someone else's house. I have to be in my house. People can come here. I don't need to be alone. I like being alone because I talk a lot when I'm watching games, but it's fine. But I have to be home. I have to be on my couch, and I have to be wearing. I'm usually in a sweatshirt, and that's usually worked. So I can't be like, I'm not going out. I'm not dressing up. I'm not going to a bar. I just need my comfort food. Give me some chips, maybe. Give me a beer. Call it a day. But I have to be home, and that's like as crazy as it gets. But if I'm not home and I'm watching a game somewhere else, something goes wrong, and I'm not about it. So I have to be home, and that's
And
it.
we don't want to
Mhm.
pin any losses on Sydney. So
No, never.
awesome. There you go. That's
No.
I've had to own a few losses for things that I've broken superstition and Canes have lost, and it's been my fault. And I've sent many letters to the team apologizing and hoping that they won't outcast me as Caniacs. I've never gotten a response. I don't know if they think I'm nuts. They probably do think I'm nuts. Brad, what are your superstitions? Do you have any?
I will do a playoff beard. I always keep a goatee, but all the rest of this you can't see it because it's all gray because I'm old. That will all go away tomorrow. Or so actually it'll go away Sunday because the game is Monday. So that'll go
Yeah.
away Sunday night, and I won't shave again until the playoffs are over for us, depending on how long. The one that started in 2006, I still do. So, the Hurricanes missed a lot of playoff years, so it wasn't as bad. If whatever I have for while I'm eating during the game for game one, if they win, I eat that same thing during every other game. So
Wow.
and normally we eat dinner late a lot. So a lot of times, like if it's like, oh, like we're having like hot dogs and chips for dinner for game one, I'm having hot dogs and chips for the rest of the playoffs. So I have to be really careful about what I eat for game one in case we win. If they lose game one and goes to game two, the same thing takes over, but now for game two. So I have to be very careful. Like, I don't want to order like expensive like Japanese tempura or something because like, oh, now like my food bill just went up 400% because that's what I'm eating for the rest of the playoffs. So whatever I'm eating the first game they win the playoffs, that's what I have during the game for the rest of the playoffs. So I have to be very careful about what I choose. That's one. I have two favorite Carolina Hurricane shirts, one black, one red. The red one traditionally is the weekday shirt, Monday through Friday. The black is typically Saturday, Sunday. So every playoff game on depending on the date, like that's the shirt I'm wearing. I had a neighbor one day. She's like, "You wear that shirt a lot," and I was like, "I do." Like every other day for 2 or 3 months out of the year. Sometimes, like I do.
Yep.
Those are my two biggies. The food thing started in 2006. And I can tell you what I had. I was doing Atkins back then.
Oh yeah.
I would make pizzas. I'd buy the big sliced pepperoni from the deli and have them cut it extra thick. That's it's like a 4-inch diameter, and you bake that in the oven with a little pizza sauce and cheese on it. And the pepperoni gets crispy. You can eat it like a piece of pizza, and it was Atkins friendly. I ate 1,000 of those that year.
Oh my gosh.
The games I was at the arena. Obviously, I couldn't do it. I had my own thing there, but for all the away games when I was at home, I had like literally I went and I got like 2 pounds of pepperoni from the deli, and the guy's like,
Are you
I'm fat at the time, and it's still fat, but yeah, I'm sure he's like, oh my God, like the fat guy's buying all this pepperoni, like this isn't good. I'm like, dude, it's a hockey thing.
It's Atkins
friendly, and I actually lost a lot of weight doing that too. But that was the food I was eating in 2006 throughout the Stanley Cup run for every away game.
Okay, look,
Incredible.
Sydney, I have no fear. You say that you're very superstitious. I perhaps perhaps am equal to you. I've lost count of all of the things that I will do to bring luck to the team and do my part. Okay, it starts with the playoff beard. The guys do the playoff beard. It makes me feel like
Hey,
I'm part of
women
the
can do
team
playoff
with all
beards
the
too.
guys. I suppose they could.
Very inclusive.
I suppose they could.
We do not
just
judge.
I look at the skaters. I look at the guys. They all getting the beard going, and I do the same. And in fact, I got myself a hot shave earlier this week just to get everything down exactly where it needed to be, and then we're all set to go.
Yeah,
So
start
again,
fresh.
you got to start fresh. Exactly. So first there's that. Then there's the one that I had in 2006. There was a T-shirt that I had that it was an Eric Cole. It was a Love of Eric Cole T-shirt. White. It was made up by someone. One of the fans made it up and was selling it, and I bought it. I can't even tell you everything that was on it. It was just amazing. It was fantastic. He loved coffee. It was something to do with his affinity for coffee. And so there was a menu on the back, a coffee menu on the back with different things that he's asked for. It was great. I wore that shirt every frigging game, every game underneath my jerseys. And then I would switch out hats. I have an unbelievable amount of hats, right? So I'm wearing one hat. If we win that period, then the hat stays on and everything goes. If it's a colossal failure of the period, if we give up a couple of goals, whatever, that hat gets chucked off and I slap the next hat on to see if this one's going to bring some more mojo to the team. And I wear that one until the next period. And I've got a lot of hats, guys. I've got a lot of hats, but I wear them all. And it's like I said, if I find one that I love, now I'm bringing my jersey here that I'm wearing now, my New England Whaler one that I just received. It's going into the cycle for the games that I'm going to be watching. I'll be starting probably with my Matt Cullen black one is the one that I'm going to wear, and that'll be for game 1 and game 2. I do have a white one with no number on it, nondescript. I'll wear that one for the away games, the white one with our logo. It's not the Canes one. I don't have one of those ones just yet. And then I've got an Eric Stahl one that I will pry myself into. It doesn't fit as good as it used to, but I will shimmy. I will shimmy myself into that one for other games if I need to change things up or whatever. So I try to bring whatever sort of mojo I can to the team, and I send it all. Every time we score a goal, I raise a glass to the southeast. I raise a glass and I say cheers to all of my fellow Caniacs in Raleigh and everywhere, and Brad as well. So if I know where I'm aiming, if you fans want me to aim a cheers somewhere, I might be drunk faster in the game, but I'll raise a glass to you all wherever you are. So
we'll have to get you to send one into Porsche for scores. A couple of bucks for charity.
Oh yes, 100%. But yeah, I'm crazy superstitious. It drives my wife nuts, and anyone who knows me they look at me and say, I talked to Sydney. It was so funny. You said you like to watch the game alone because you're talking in the game and you're talking to the screen. I do all the time too. And my wife reminds me every now and again, they can't hear you.
Yep.
And I'm like, I understand that, but it's got to be said. It's got to get out there. So there you go. Superstitions are taken care of. We've had a fantastic show. Sydney, I got to say, for you to be willing to jump on with us so quickly, but to share the immense knowledge that you have, and the way the way you look at the game is refreshing. It's very, very cool. You have respect for the game. We've got tons of respect for you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you
and
for filling in for us.
This is fantastic. Unfortunately, we couldn't have sports school. We're still trying to make that work. So sports school, look for it. And
Dwayne
Coach
is.
Dwayne,
We know Dwayne was. We didn't realize Dwayne was busy this week. Sports school. He is a big NFL guy. This was NFL draft,
yes.
so that was an error on our part. But thank you for jumping in. It's a pleasure to talk to somebody that we really don't know. That like I haven't been talking to on Twitter for a year or whatever. That gives a totally different perspective on things. So it's really cool. We really do appreciate that.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
For the listeners, I'll throw it up on Twitter and Facebook and ask you, what are your superstitions? We want to hear from you. Like, what do you do to help the team win? Game 1, Monday, May 2nd, 7 p.m. Wednesday, May 4th, game number 2. Friday in Boston at May 6th, 7 p.m. is game number 3. We will record Saturday very quickly as we wrap up. What are your predictions when we record Saturday? Are we down 1-2? Are we up 2-1? Are we up 3-0? Where are we at, Ray?
Goodness, I think we would be. I think we're up 2-1.
Excellent. Sydney?
I think we're up 2-1.
Yeah, I could back that. I think it's I think we're either going to be up 2-1 or down 2-1. I don't think there's going to be a 3-0 anywhere in this series.
I'm going to Don Cherry this, and I'm going to say it's 3-0 because I'm a jerk.
That a boy.
I don't think we're going to sweep them, but I think we're going to put the fear of the hockey gods into them nice and early.
You know what, though, Brad? That's a little bit of bad mojo, because Sydney's going to be at Game 4. If we're up 3-0 and you don't think there's going to be a sweep, then you're depriving her of a win.
A sweep. I said I didn't think there would be.
Okay, very good.
But then she goes to the game, and that changes. Like we have to erase the chalkboard, and I might need some colored chalk to put this theorem on the board.
Oh yeah.
When she goes to Game 4, that changes everything, Ray.
Well, yeah, exactly. If we're up 3-0 going into Game 4, Sydney brings it home. That'll be like the keys of the game. Right? The keys of the game, SAT line has to be firing. You know what I mean? We got goaltending has to be tops, right? D'Angelo needs to make some better defensive decisions. And
Sydney's in Lowe's 12.
Exactly. And there you go. And then the very bottom. But Sydney's in the lineup and nothing else matters because we've got the game. We've got the win.
Yep,
there it is.
That's all we need. Hey, they haven't lost yet when I've gone in person. So
that's some serious mojo.
4-game sweep.
That is
4 games. 4 games they haven't lost. So
that's outstanding. That's outstanding. Very good mojo. I love that.
Oh yeah.
It's been a fantastic episode. We've talked about so much. Is there anything else to say, Brad?
You know there is. Sydney, we always wrap it up with a Go Canes.
Go Canes.
Go Canes.
Thank you everyone for tuning in. Ray and I greatly appreciate your support in helping us produce an informative and fun podcast. As always, we'd like to say that we believe hockey is for everyone. Whether you're a Caniac or a bunch of jerks, doesn't matter, as we're just a couple of jerks anyway. We would love to hear your questions, comments, and suggestions. We will do our best to answer anything hockey related. You can reach us via email at stormcellar97@gmail.com. On Twitter, we are at stormcellar97, and on Facebook at facebook.com/stormcellar97.